Planter configuration and build video 6. Alright, we're mounting up the units here. As you can see, we've got 4 units on the planter, as well as going through wiring harnesses, things like that. Now these units here would be what I would call the corn units. They'll be 8 across, 8 on 30-inch spacings, which would be an 8-row corn head or 20-foot planting width. We're also getting our controllers lined up. One's going here and one here. Pretty close proximities to everything. That kit was intended for one right here and one actually right over there. But because of the way we changed this planter, that's just not going to happen, so we're doing our best in the real estate that we have to work with. Once the corn units are on, then we'll go in and we'll put in the inner plant units, which will be in between. As you can see, the U-bolt here for it spaced out. So there'll be another unit in here, and on down. That'll be inner plant units to go to 15-inch soybeans. So you just drop an extra unit. And 8-row 30 on corn, or 15-row 15 on beans. On the soybean units, or the inner plant units, they use the longer parallel arm, which a few of these units had to be converted over to the longer parallel arm. On the short arm, they use this bracket in here, but on the longer arms, they actually have it cast in, and there's a spacer that'll go here, push this back, cylinder goes directly to the parallel arms. So that way not everything's in a dead line, it'll actually be a set back, so it'll stagger it. But as you can tell, when you get those extra units in here, there's an angle iron here and here. There's just not a whole lot of extra working with. Everything gets pretty tight. Now having these as an exact merge with no drives and CCS hoses, that's going to eliminate a box and a box and a box. That's going to eliminate a lot of these headaches and hurdles of the tight real estate that this toolbar has to work with. Now if this were a Kinsey or some other brand, they'd have a push-or-go unit, but this is what John Deere does on this model. Additionally, we've been working on decals, safety stops in there, got the CCS fan mounted as you saw in the last video. And again, I'm stretching wires, and there's a lot of wiring and stuff that goes into this box of wiring, hydraulics, more wiring. We have our ISO harness and our generator harness. And while I'm standing up here in the front, I thought I'd talk about the front steps. So here's all tractors you pretty much access off the left side, or the ones you do modern day. So you'll come out your left door, got a left step. I'm going to put some grip tape here and here. I got good landing, and this railing is shorter than this one, so you can just go right on up there. And got a nice big working area. In the front here, we'll have nothing more than just hoses and that kind of stuff, as well as our plenums, and then we'll have our external gauges. So yeah, little attentions to details, such as proper decals, everything else. That's the key to it. And John Deere does have some tech pubs for this kit available on the internet for free, so it's able to download that, which helps with the assembly immensely. Exact emerge decals on there. I did get quite a few comments asking why we run these in forward position. Being a non-tractive machine, I explained why we're using these tires, but being a non-tractive machine, it wouldn't really matter if they're forward or backward, but just because the way I like the way they look better in traction mode, that's the way they're going. And here on the floor, I'm unwrapping the MTG kit. They give you all the bolts and individual packaging. MTG, which is the wireless internet, which basically makes the data recording work. Again, here's these instructions, and I cross-reference that with a parts list. And I did not order the compressor. I can order it at a later date. There is a bracket that actually goes right here, in here, and that compressor sits right in this region right here. So on the back of this tank, if we wanted to add a compressor, we'd have perfect room between our toe kick and hydraulics and everything. The wire for it will be coiled up here for a later date if we need it or choose to add it. Yeah, coming together pretty nicely. Looks good. Okay, finally making some headway on this wiring harness here. Got everything loomed together, everything installed. So there's your main controller, then there's a 4G MTG in there, another controller, fuse block, and all this goes together as power harnesses. I've looped everything together, and they give you two harnesses, and on the top side here we'll hang the hoses for the CCS, so they'll go above, and on the other side we probably won't need those because there won't be wiring over there. This puck kit, product improvement update kit, this was a kit sold by John Deere, and they do sell it for multiple models of planter, including the 1785, which this is a 7240 toolbar, 7240, 1780, 1785, all the same toolbar. So if you strip it down to a base bar, it's a 1785 toolbar. It's identical. So in other words, you can buy the puck kit for 1785 bolts to either one of the previous models. Now this puck kit was not ordered for this particular model planter, so there was only 12 row units. This was for a 1765, but plans had changed, so we did not go that route. So there was only 12 row units, and what I did is I went through the kit, and I said, well, a lot of this appears to be universal, so I started tracing the parts, the controllers, the wiring harnesses, all of it, and I said, what's different, what's the same between the different kits? And I was able to determine that this kit used on this model planter and what's used on a 1765 is identical, except there's two different wing harnesses. Obviously there'll be 3 more row units, and then a few of the row units will be the longer parallel arms. So unfortunately I did have to convert 4 row units to longer parallel arms. The other 3 units that are missing, that are ordered, they will be here April 1st. The planter will be done to where those can just be rolled in, bolt them down, and take it to the field, and those will be ordered with the longer arms. But I had to change over a couple units to the longer arms. Well, obviously all the others are the same. Wire harnesses are all the same, with the exception of the wing harness. And then there's what they call a tone wheel. That's a little different too, and I got to pull out this axle shaft here this afternoon and slide that on a ring on there. Then that bracket there in the tire actually sits in there, and that detects motion to activate the planter. So that tone wheel is different. A couple wing harnesses are different, and I had to convert a couple row units. That's the only things that were different. We added a few row units to the kit. Again, they'll be coming a little bit later, and we're good to go. So yes, if you buy these kits, they're quite universal. This video was filmed over the course of several days into weeks. As you see there, the 8 row units are on, the wiring is going in, main harnesses, and as all this goes together, it just becomes more and more complicated, especially as you see there with the MTG system. Alright, a little update here. We got the 8 main corn row units installed, getting the taillights put back on. Got all these units on across the rear. Quite a few decals, things like that on there. And I got pretty much all the wiring done, with the exception of a few connections. There's even a couple questions on a few of these. Wing harness extensions will be another one that goes on out. This is kind of a universal screw U kit, so it's a basically zip ties and a bunch of hardware, and kind of gives you some rough ideas and pictures, but no measurements or anything like that to go off of. So here you go. Here's your kit. But it did come with a few of these brackets, which I ordered some more because those work pretty good. You can hook all that down. Then all the hydraulic hoses that have to go like out to the markers, they'll all lay down underneath this, so this will be elevated a little bit. That'll make it easier to clean. Got it all, the wiring out here on board, close proximities to the marker, lights. Everything clears good. Tighten that up, and it can break away with no issues. Now on this other side, we are doing more wiring. Came over here, and this will be a compressor harness. If you want to add the compressor, we're putting our individual row force hydraulic valve block on. And we had to pull the axle shaft to add this ring right there, which is what they call a tone ring. And then that goes onto that right there, which is a motion detector. Tells it when the planter is activated and engaged in the ground. Slowly but surely we're coming along here. Up here in the front, this just hangs here. This is a little cup, and you actually take it off, put there on the side, and you can drain your meter out into it. Okay, we're getting the hydraulics hooked up, main 3/4 inch feeder lines. Putting the interplant units in here, which this is what this is, interplant in between the others. They have the long parallel arms, got one done. Once you get that in there, things get a little tight. Markers assembled, marker blades on. Here's just a few pictures of it as it's being assembled. There's the front stairs and catwalks I built, and here's some pictures of the rear where the units are going together, as well as the front view. It's looking real good in my opinion. Things are fitting well. Again, there's just not much real estate left over. Things are pretty tight. Update. Okay, we got the lights on, markers on. We have our outer reflector. Yes, that's a factory piece. We have all of our units on the left side, minus one wiring harness we're waiting on through parts. And we're waiting on the vac hoses for the inner plants. The vac hoses for the corner rows were the same as what the planter originally used, and we did find a couple cracked vac pipes. The CCS, or the seed delivery hose, was much cheaper through Shoop than through John Deere. It's the same hose, so I went through Shoop, routed nice and neat here on the left side. So this is what it looked like the whole way across, staggered. Again, the units that stick out farther are the interplant soybean rows, and on the right side we're still waiting on the last 3 units that are on order. There's a lot going on here. Everything came out very close tolerance. We have our hydraulic valve block, splitter block, which I'm working on the hoses still, and that divides it into the half width on the planter for the individual row downforce. Got this side plumbed in, and we're plumbing in that center one now. So that half will go that way, this half will go this way. Vac unit just fits, but everything's coming together quite nicely, flowed out very well. We left a little slack in these so that they can bounce around a little bit. I don't want them too tight. So, came out looking real good. Got all of our little brackets in here for that wiring harness. Once it shows up, you can tell this thing gets pretty busy and pretty complicatedly tight once everything gets put on here. Also, I'm running the marker hoses. Safety decals are all in there. Wiring harnesses are laid out nice and neat. The hoses ran through the hitch for the downforce, and all the wiring harnesses through the hitch for the main system. Do not have the wiring harness in there yet for the 7 pins. We're working on that right now because we had to put a tree branch in it to run the agitation on these tanks. Motors came out looking good. And again, we're just waiting on those last 3 units. And I'll finish up doing the hoses. I'm just trying to get all the preliminary work done, so literally it can just be attach, 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 go to the field. The final part, video 7, will be coming towards the end of the month or around the 1st of April, as we are now waiting on parts to finish this up. Once those parts come in, we can cruise through the final assembly in about 4 days working time. And I'll show you guys a video of the finished product. Overall, I'm very pleased how it's coming together. And thank you to everybody for watching and following along.